Before getting too far into the study of the myths themselves, it's probably helpful to define what exactly a myth is. After all, we have many stories that mean a lot to us personally, as well as on a larger cultural level. Yet a myth occupies a space more significant than something like a folk tale or a legend or a meme. Indeed, a myth has to distinguish itself above other types of storytelling in the sense that it will impart truth to us in a comprehensive way. This makes it quite different from, say, the meme of something like Chuck Norris. A myth evolves in its storytelling, addresses questions of origins, natural phenomena, or values, has a religious element, and expresses a sense of purpose and identity for its culture. To be a myth, a story needs to fit the following characteristics. The first purpose is religion. In classical cultures, the myth explained religious beliefs and justified religious rituals. In fact, the sacred elements of mythology heavily influenced the behavior of the ancient Greeks and the ancient Romans. These myths were quite instrumental on the way that they perceived the sacred and unseen aspects of the way humanity operates and moves throughout the world. And these stories are understood to be true or have an element of truth within their particular belief system. The second purpose of myths here is that myths explain the unknown. The ancients relied on myths to give them the answers that they sought. For example, the creation myths answer huge questions such as how were the universe and the earth created, and where did people come from? Another explanatory myth deals with the underworld, answering the question, what happens after we die? This element makes every myth cosmic, in a sense, since a myth will address the foundational nature of a particular aspect of creation, and typically will take place in some sort of prehistorical timeline, before what Tolkien called the Age of Men. The setting is typically a place where gods, creatures, and humans coexisted, and their interactions laid the foundations of our world. The third purpose is that myths maintained the natural and social order. In addition to addressing the foundational aspects of creation, the third purpose of myths is to address the foundations of our natural and social orders. The natural order means the way that nature operates. What is lightning? Why do storms happen on the sea? Why do things grow and die? In the Greek myths, the universe was divided amongst the gods, each having jurisdiction over a particular domain of creation. For example, Zeus ruled the heavens, so therefore lightning. Poseidon ruled the seas, so storms must be a reflection of his mood or purposes at a particular time. The social order means that myths work to maintain order in society by showing what kind of behavior was acceptable. The ancients had many rules to follow, but they did so willingly because they wanted to avoid the wrath of the gods. You don't want the storm to come on a day when you're about to set out to sea, so you're going to take steps to appease Poseidon at that point so you can have a safe voyage. And when every aspect of creation is ruled by a certain god, it makes living prosperously a pretty straightforward task. And when every aspect of creation is ruled by a certain god, it makes living prosperously a pretty straightforward task. Get on the good side of the gods, maintain your set place in the social order, and the natural order will conform around you for the good. It also helps with explaining when things go wrong. There must be a god who is somehow upset at you. The fourth purpose is that myths cover a wide range of human emotions, which is probably essential when mythology is so all-encompassing in terms of how humans should behave. Emotion is an important part of what makes a human human. Therefore, it's not surprising that the myths, which evolved to help the ancients understand themselves and their place in the universe, covered a wide range of human emotions. This is something we still do today with our important cultural stories. We seek an emotional experience through interacting with media and storytelling. And in establishing this mythological canon with gods and powerful beings with such epic responsibilities and ambitions, these emotions can be confronted and experienced. Telling and interacting with stories is good life practice in the sense that we can encounter all sorts of emotions and situations in a safe way, getting into like the shallow end of the despairs and ecstasies that a character can go through. The metaphor is apt. We can sort of hang out in the pool, kind of in the shallow end, sort of living vicariously through characters, emotions, and experiences, but we never have to worry about drowning because we're not in the deep end. We are not actually in their situations. This was as true for the ancients as it is for us, and it's a bridge we can use to further understand them. The fifth purpose is that myths paint a portrait of ideal human behavior, illustrating what people of a particular culture valued in action, thought, and deed. This doesn't always mean that the people in these stories, or even the people who read or told these stories, were 100% virtuous, but it does reflect what the culture valued and the characteristics that they may have wanted to emulate. A person in myths who demonstrated these qualities was often referred to as a hero, a person in which ideal human attributes shine most brightly in their character. Some of the qualities of a mythical hero to remember are as follows. A hero had to be not just brave, but fearless. A hero had to be supremely confident and full of ambition that drove them to meet all challenges. A hero must show loyalty to something that keeps them grounded, such as a deity or a family or friends. And a hero must show mastery of a particular skill. Indeed, our definitions of heroism may have changed or evolved down through the centuries, or you may have personal heroes that exhibit other admirable qualities. But this is an element of myth that helps us further understand the culture in which they were developed or written. Not every story you encounter from the ancients is necessarily a myth. For instance, there are stories known as legends, and although they are presented as true, usually relating to a specific place, person, or historical event, there's usually little to no hard evidence to back them up. Legends don't have all the elements of a myth. For example, they're full of adventure, but they don't have any religious significance, and they don't attempt to answer any big picture questions. A myth can be a legend, but a legend is not necessarily a myth because they miss the chance to address origins. There are also stories called folk tales, which are stories that were, commonly circulated around like normal people, the common folk. They are simple, timeless stories that convey the customs, traditions, and the beliefs of ordinary people. Folktales were told orally, and they may change in the telling. However, like legends, they usually don't attempt to explain any sort of natural phenomena, and they tend to be pure fiction, like the Once Upon a Time type of stories. They also don't have religious elements, and they don't always explain the maintenance of the social or natural orders. Fairy tales like Hansel and Gretel and Cinderella can be considered folk tales. Myths can be fun and interesting to consider, and the lessons they teach can be insightful for developing your worldview. This is how myths can be truly life-giving, and it's important to consider the ways in which your beliefs are affecting those around you. This is how we keep myths in perspective. Recognize them for what they are and what they mean to ancient societies as well as our society, but the world and God are so much bigger than our limited understanding. Let's use these myths to inform us of what we now value, and through this exercise, we will understand better how to live well with one another.